Hi y'all, welcome back. Today's recipe is a classic. It's called chicken roast in my household, or that's how I know it. But it's basically Khada Masala chicken, which means Khada Masala means chicken with whole spices. So no powdered spices, no minced ingredients. Everything is finely chopped or diced. Nothing is made into a paste. And the amalgamation of all of those ingredients ends up in the final dish, which is delicious and a classic, and every household tweaks it a little bit differently. But regardless, they all taste really good. So I'm going to dive right into the ingredients. So we're going to be using 2 large onions, finely diced, red onions preferred, but we can use white or yellow. 8 to 10 cloves of garlic or a head of garlic, finely minced, and 3 inches of ginger. Along with this, we will be using whole spices, and that's where the magic is. So we'll be using 2 cinnamon sticks. We'll be using 6 to 7 green cardamom pods. We'll be using cloves, 8 to 10, and 15 black peppercorns. Along with that, we'll be using 2 bay leaves and 6 whole chilies. We are going to be using around 3 pounds of chicken. You'll adjust the spices if you're using a smaller amount. In terms of chicken, I like to use chicken thighs, bone-in preferred, bone-in skin off, but you can do boneless. Today I'm doing a combination of drumsticks and chicken thighs because the bone adds a lot of flavor. It does add some time, but it adds a lot of flavor and is well worth it. And we are going to be using some yogurt as the acid for this dish. Let's get started. I'm preheating a large wok. You don't need a wok. You can use any large pan. And I'm going to be using mustard oil, which is traditional, but you could use vegetable oil or ghee. Either of those will work as well. So around 2 tablespoons of oil. So the coats, get it to be hot. And then the first thing that you're going to do is all your whole spices go in but you have to wait till the oil gets hot. And putting the spices in hot oil is what's called the tadka, or the blooming of the spices. And so I'm going to just saute this till it starts getting toasty or brown, which will happen pretty quickly. So you want to keep stirring it. You'll hear it pop and fly around like that one did. And if at this stage it burns, you're going to want to restart. You can't fix this. And so now the onions go in. And you're going to wait till the onions get translucent before your ginger garlic goes in. It's been exactly 6 minutes and the onions are sweating, which means they are translucent and a little soft. And so it's time for the ginger and garlic. This whole 3-step process, the onions, the ginger, and the garlic, is the most important part of the recipe, which means if you get this right, your recipe will always work. And if you don't get it right, your recipe, no matter what you do, is not going to be what you thought it's going to be. So what I mean by that is you want to give this time, which means you're going to give the onions enough time to caramelize on medium-low heat. You don't want to rush it. You want to use a relatively large dish so that it is evenly spread out and doesn't take forever. And you don't want to cook this on very high heat, because if you cook it on high heat, you'll get the color, but you won't get the flavor. So you want to give this the time and on medium heat, however long it takes. And I can cook this every single day and I cannot predict how long. It just varies. It's a visual that you're going to see, which is going to tell you that it's cooked right or it's cooked in the right amount, and I'll tell you exactly what to look for. It's been 14 minutes of constant stirring on medium heat, and this is the color that I've come to, and this is what I want you to get to before you add anything else. Don't go with 14 minutes, do not go with time, just go with the color. However long it takes you to get here is what you're looking for. So now that I have this with some nice brown color, now the chicken's going to go in. I've cut up my chicken into bite-sized chunky cubes, bite-sized pieces, and drumsticks, and that's all going to go in. Chicken thighs, remind you all, chicken thighs. So now I'm going to saute this with the onion mixture, and the chicken is also going to bring moisture to this, and any pieces that are sticking to the bottom of the pot or feel like they're getting burned, that will all get picked up by the chicken. So I'm going to saute this for at least 5 minutes before I do anything else. It's been 5 minutes and this is what the chicken's looking like. So it's got the paste on top of it and it's mixed in nicely. And what I forgot to add was the salt. So we're gonna add a generous amount of salt, whatever salt you like to use. I'm adding 2 teaspoons at least. And then the last ingredient that goes in to this is going to be yogurt. Any kind of yogurt is fine, as long as it's plain yogurt. That's what you want to add. So in this much chicken, I'm going to add around a cup of yogurt. So the yogurt's incorporated and we're going to saute this for another 5 minutes before we add liquid to this. It's been 5 minutes and this is getting some nice browning on it and some nice color, which is what we want. And so the last thing that we're going to do is now add water and cover it so that it cooks through, and we'll be ready to serve shortly after. So 5 minutes later, now we're adding water. So mix the water in. And this is going to be like a nice thin sauce, so make sure you have plenty of water. This is around 2 cups of water that I've added, and I'm going to put a lid on this and wait till it cooks through before I taste it. It's been 10 to 12 minutes, so let's see. I'm quite confident that the chicken is cooked through. So if you're using bone-in chicken, make sure it's cooked through. It takes longer than boneless, so keep that in mind. I can see this is completely cooked through. And so I'm going to taste this to make sure it has enough salt and flavor. And a hack is, if it feels like it doesn't have enough flavor, to add garam masala powder, which intrinsically is against this recipe because you're not using any powdered spices. But if you feel like you need more flavor, you can add that. Okay, this has perfect amount of salt, so I'm not going to add, and it tastes really good, so I'm not going to add anything else. I'm going to turn this off. And if you look at the sauce of this, like if you look at this, it's pretty runny, but that's the way it's supposed to be. It's a pretty runny sauce. If you like it a little thicker, cook it off a little bit, but I like it pretty thin, so I'm going to leave it like this. So here's the final dish, chicken roast or Khada Masala chicken. I highly recommend you giving it a try. It's a time-consuming dish, but you're going to impress a lot of people, and it's a classic. It's best enjoyed with rice or naan or roti, and I recommend making a large quantity so you can have it at least over 2 meals because it takes a while to get done. All right, I'll see you next time.